Welcome to Sankhya Television and our program Between God and Us. Today we are here, I am here, with Master Eric of the Untold Truth, and we are having conversations about everything that exists between God and us. Being a new series, of course, we have a starting point, and we started with negative energies. So in our last program, we covered we started off covering demons and negative energy. And this is our third session where Master Eric and we are discussing basically the world today in terms of demonic presence, negative energy, the influence that he's seeing happening with people, the drastic increase in negative energy. And we covered topics of possession, we covered topics of the demonic entities. And today, especially on today's episode, we have a video of Master Eric conducting an exorcism, or in the process of exorcising a demon, and he's going to walk us through what is happening in that video. And so we have a lot in store, and it's not all doom and gloom. We of course have positive things to add, but we invite you to join us as we have this conversation in an effort to bring knowledge and awareness to people. It's not about scaring people, it's not about saying it's the end of the world, but it's about, as Master Eric always said, it's about empowering people with knowledge so that they will have faith and they will be, let's say,
aware.
Master Eric?
So first of all, I want to say Seetahal, Assalamu alaikum, Sairam, and good evening, everyone. Yeah, Omkar, it's awareness. And awareness should be given to people, regardless of what the subject is. It's just like when the vaccine came out.
Yeah.
Shouldn't we have been aware of what it really did and what the side effects would have been? But it wasn't. Everything was kept away. Same thing with this knowledge. Same thing with a lot of things in the scriptures. It's being withheld from the people. And that's why I like doing this show, because we're actually going to get in it and program by program, stay within one subject in that program and get in depth and give people what was the roots of that in the first place before everything was taken out and put the way man wanted it put for people to know. And so everybody, today, we were talking last week about demonic beings. We gave cases of some of the possessions we've done. And today I want to go a little deeper than towards the end of the program. You know why I do it at the end of the program, Omkar?
Why?
Because if people see this at the beginning, then they'll turn off the program. Nah, I'm just joking, everybody. But I want to show them at the end. It's not where I did a possession. This is what I do when people they think something is wrong within them, that there's something inside of them. And this is what I do. And we're going to show it towards the end of the program in order to let the demon show itself within the body, not through a manifestation.
Right.
They will not show themselves physically through with the full body and its power until you start to pull them out. Okay, so when we show this tonight, everybody will see how this man, you saw it, how the man's belly is just going everywhere.
Yeah.
And that was a big one inside of him.
So what is the size of a demon? Because based on the stories that you tell me, like the buck, for example, a buck is small, right? In
right.
size?
But see, this is where the identification of the entity that you're actually going up against, you got to have the knowledge.
Right.
Everybody will say it's a buck. But the one in Gasparilla was not a buck that I killed.
Right.
It was a hybrid spirit. So if you do not know how to deal with a hybrid, then how are you going to kill it? How are you going to trap it? Omkar, in the universe, and remember, I always say, the knowledge we have, even myself, we're barely scratching the surface. Now, I know there's over 200 different spiritual beings that are demonic. Now, you have to understand the characteristics, the actions. What are the signs of each one when they possess somebody? It's not the same. Every demonic entity has different personalities, different traits that they do. And if you don't know that, how are you going to go out and take it out? Now, another thing you have to understand, and this is where people out here need to stop. You cannot cast out a demonic being. Now, what I mean by that, if you do cast out a being, Omkar, you just took it outside the gate. You're casting out. It's still alive. It's still going. But they cast it out. Okay? What good is that? You need to send it out of the realm. And that takes a special ritual to do. Okay? Now, when I say send it out of the realm, there's something we do. I'm not going to get into graphics because there's a bunch of copycats out here.
Yeah.
And if they don't know what they're doing, they're actually going to get in trouble. And it'll come back on you. But when you do this, you're opening a gateway. And like I gave you that invitation last week, and I'm still holding you to that. You're actually going to go out and witness this. Now, when you open up the gateway and you put the demonic beings inside the gateway, it's like a vortex. That gateway starts, and you'll see the fire spin. And when the fire spins, it'll shoot up, sometimes 14 feet. A tornado vortex will go up. That is them leaving with no wind this realm. And then you seal it off. If you don't seal it off, this is why we're getting a lot, I would say 95% of all the negativity in the world today is because people are opening up gateways. They could be playing with Ouija boards. There's different ways that you can open up. Some people deal with yantras. Now, when you do a yantra, you have to be mastered in that. You just can't be trained in that 1 month and go say, I'm going to open up a gateway with a yantra. How are you going to close it when you didn't even know how you opened it in the first place?
Yeah.
You know, even in Trinidad, there are 3 known gateways. So they have to be sealed. But where they're at, you got to get approval. And from the government, that's hard to do.
Hey, I hear a funny story. Well, not funny, but when I was working, that's about 15 years ago, where the army, well, the Trinidad Regiment, carried a group of trainees on one of the islands. That's one of the final training, like they go out in the field. And it had this light come up on top of the hill and came straight down. We were talking about on the island, huh? And I heard the story from somebody who heard the story from somebody who was there. I wasn't there, right? So the light came up, came straight down the island. Everybody started praying, running, jumping in the water to swim back. These army people. And, well, they just, like, they kind of huddled together. They were scared, everybody was scared, and they come back. But, like, you don't hear about stuff like that, but apparently that was an incident with the regiment. So that probably might be documented.
Well, see, there's a lot of your viewers out here, and I'll try to explain that a little bit. A lot of the viewers that are watching today, they're going to say, yes, I've seen this. I experienced this. A lot of spirits will come as an orb. An orb It looks like a light, but the light won't be solid. It's going to break up into psychedelic colors. Sometimes they'll be red, sometimes they'll be white, sometimes they'll be different colors. And they'll just go real fast through your house. And sometimes they'll hover inside the house. Sometimes you'll see them outside. Okay, now, you are just not going to see an orb. Most people that see them, unless that orb wants you to see them. And it sounds to me like that's what happened there. Okay, if they're getting into the territory of these beings, they're going to let you know. Something's going to happen.
Like in that situation.
Right. And what they do, they backed off.
Yeah.
Okay, most people will because they don't have the knowledge.
Yeah.
But
from your experience and knowledge, did it have something up on that side, or that is just
I can't name the location, but I've done things for the government, and I've been way out there, and there are energies out there.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not going to go into specifics because I was under contract.
Yeah.
But they're all over the world. They're everywhere. See, one thing I want people to understand, when you go down the road or you're in the supermarket, there are beings inside there. We live in a parallel dimension. So they're walking right past where we're walking. They're coming right where you're going. Sometimes I've had people come in that was born with a veil over their face. And that's the old people saying they were born with a veil. That means they can see the undead. And they'll tell you, they're in the maxis. They're everywhere. And it's frightening for them when they're growing up because they're seeing this everywhere they go.
But is it that in the parallel, that the demons, they live in this parallel world? Is it that they want to cross over into ours?
Some do.
Yeah?
Some do. Some never get the chance to cross over.
Right.
Now they're stuck forever.
Yeah.
Now,
so they want to, because in the beginning we said they have the 3 lower realms, which we will consider hell, but there are 3.
Right, which each one has 9 stages.
Right. And then above that, on this plane, you have how much?
Okay, then you have the first 3 realms.
Right.
Realm 4 is more like Earth.
Right.
It's very almost identical to Earth. Okay? Now that's where a lot of the scriptures and scholars say that's where Hades is. And then some scholars argue, we talked about last week, where they say no, realm 3 is the higher of the hells. That's where Hades is. The waiting area.
Those 9 levels are considered as Hades.
No, just the top of number 3.
Okay.
The lower you go down, so if you are realm 3, stage 9, that's where supposedly Hades is. As you go down, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's where they're getting worse. Then you go into realm 2, 9 through 0. Then you go to realm 1, 9 through 0. And that's the worst hells you could go to. And if you walk, see, where people don't understand, some that are listening say, but we only know of one hell.
Right.
Okay? God didn't design the universe the way man thinks. This is where people go wrong. When you read a scripture, yes, read it, understand it. But almost every scripture in the world is written in parables.
Right.
Now, this is where the misconception of the meaning of each happens. So let me ask you a question. God is a just God, right? Supposed to be. That's what we know about him.
That's what I was thinking.
He's very just. Now, would God put a person who lies, always constantly lying to people, would he put them in the worst or in one hell with the murderers, the rapists, all them people? No. The reason there are different categories of hells is because each sin takes you to a different one, a different level. Just like here, would you take a person that was found with 10 grams of marijuana and throw them in the same cells as a serial killer? No.
Maybe in Trinidad, yeah, they do that.
No, they don't even do that in Trinidad because I helped build the prison, remember? So what I'm saying, you do not do that. Now, what people are not know, what they do not understand, is that the sins we accumulate, which people call karma, some people call good deeds and bad deeds, those are accumulated. And then when we do make our journey and we go up to get judged, well, the thing is, we go and pay our dues. You start with the worst one first. You'll go down to that lower hell. Once you pay off that one, now you pay off the next, and you pay off the next, and you pay off the next. But you're gradually going back up to where hopefully you're going up closer to the top of realm 3. Now, when you go into realm 3, at the top.
Yes, wait. So realm 3, if we think about it in terms of heaven.
No. Realm 3 is the higher part of hell.
Oh, we're still in hell?
We're still in hell.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay. Now, once you do that, then God is a just God. He gives you a chance to redeem yourself, to try to show you could walk a better path.
All right.
Now, some don't. And that's what we were talking about last week. Some will say, nah, I'm going back and get revenge.
All right.
He slips out of realm 3 into our realm. And that's when they start causing havoc. Now, the problem with black magic, Obia, people doing bad, it's not a religion if you do that. Now, as we talked about last week, you do have satanic religions, and they have been from the beginning of time.
Right.
Okay? Now,
the reason being is because Satan himself fell. So, let's say at the beginning of time, Satan fell, so he was a presence, and then people, they either went that way or
the dark side.
Or God, or
right.
They chose from the beginning of
It
time.
don't have to be just Christianity.
Yeah.
Now, what attracts people? I talked about it last week. Social media. Now, people are told that when you pray to the dark side in this time and era, in Hinduism, they call this Kali Yuga.
Right.
It's the negative time. In the Western world, they would call this the Iron Age. And this is the time when this age ends. That's it. Okay? Now,
I have a question about Obia. Before you go too far away from it.
I'm going back into Obia.
Oh, okay.
So, people go towards that. And they see results. But what they don't understand, that when you dip into the dark side, there's a price to pay. You're connected somehow. Or do you have to keep up something? And if you don't keep it up, what is the penalty?
Yeah.
But you can get the same results by doing it the right way, not the dark way. But the problem with that, Omkar, it's not being taught. People aren't doing it. So That's why people are gravitating towards the dark side. So let me give you an example. I did a case not long ago. And she said she cannot sleep. Something is spiritually raping her. But before it rapes her, something takes over her husband. And the husband just drags her through the house by her hair. And takes her and throws her on the bed and lets the spirit take over. So when I heard that, when I heard that, I said, this one's interesting. I'm going to check this myself. Okay. Instead of my guys going out. So when I went down, I felt the energy patterns. And then I said, but wait a minute. This is coming from over the fence. And she said, what? And I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but the woman that lives next door, her husband just died about a year ago, right? They said, yes. They went to the funeral and everything. Well, lo and behold, the woman that lived across the street is deep in Obia, black magic. Right. So when her husband died and they did the burial, she captured her husband's soul. Now she's making her husband go into the house next door, possess the husband, and he used to be a very temperamental person, hothead. Right. That's when this happens with the husband dragging her around and throw her on the bed. Then the demon would come in and take over and do the sex. And then after it's over, the husband doesn't remember anything.
The living husband.
The living husband.
Right.
So what we had to do was go in.
Wait, the demon working for the Obia lady? Where did the demon come from?
She summons him.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because she wanted the people's land next door. Okay. To expand her estate. So what I'm trying to say, we took care of the situation, okay? But it was complicated because there was many different factors going in at one time. Yeah. It's just not that you're dealing with a possession or you're just not dealing with a demon in the house, right? Okay? We're talking different locations, different methods of how it's coming over. Mm-hmm. So we had to capture that soul when it came over, send he off, and then take out the demon. Once we did that, the whole place is calm, and it's been calm for a couple of years. So I want people to understand, people are using the dark side for everything. Yeah. They're using it for land. They're using it for money.
But what happened to the Obia lady now?
The Obia lady, she has to deal with her own karma. Right. But she's grounded. She can't...
You cut she off like...
We cut her off.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there's ways to cut people off.
Yeah.
Okay? But we have to get permission to do that. You just can't do that. So when you meditate, the higher archies, whether they're angels or whether they're deities or God himself, mm-hmm. they will tell you yes or no.
Okay.
And once you have that, you're able to do it. Okay. You just can't do things in this world, Omkar, without approval. So why do you think there's been thousands of cases of exorcisms being done in the world? Priest, other type of priest, every type you could think of, they died. There are laws you have to go by. There are stipulations you have to go by. And you just can't go in when you think you just want to go in and take it out. The forces will be against you if you do not learn this. So this is why when you watch TV And you're seeing them do this in a religious institution of taking out a spirit. He cast it out. But number one rule that I said last week, you don't do it in an audience. It's not for show, especially TV.
Yeah.
So when that spirit left that body, bet your bottom dollar, because I've done over 600 of them, where they said they were in the religious institution, I'm not going to say which faith, and they cast out the spirit. They were witness to it. It jumped them down. Why do you think they came to me 2 weeks later?
Yeah.
You don't do that. Okay? So this means the person is doing this, don't know what he's doing. Okay? Don't cast out. You get rid of it. Period.
Yeah.
Kill it, send it out. Once you seal that realm, he can't come back. It's impossible. Okay? So this is why I've been asking. I'm not going to get on my knees and beg, Omkar. These spiritual leaders out here need to get off their backsides, start coming out here and learning about this. Or why are they even preaching or teaching? Mm-hmm. No, the job comes with different avenues. And what they want to do, they want to say, no, I want to stay in this safe lane. Well, the icons, what we talked about last week, they didn't stay in the safe lane.
Yeah.
Even when Jesus Christ walked the land, he took out demons, he took out spirits. Did he walk the safe lane and say, no. Let these people do it? No. So what I'm trying to say, people out here are suffering because they don't want to learn.
Yeah.
Their ego too big. They'd rather sit down and just do prayers. Well, that's not all your job. The job comes with different avenues. And at least learn how to identify at least. Mm. We'll go in and do the exorcisms. I'm not worried about that. At least learn what are the signs, symptoms, what do you look for? And I'm not going to announce all that on TV because there are copycats.
Yeah.
And we don't want that to happen.
Act like they're doing it, but they're not really doing it.
Exactly.
And then they'll say, well.
And then they're going to take the people's money and they're not going to get their help. So all of this has to stop. And this is why the world today is the way it is today.
Yeah.
People aren't praying the way they used to, Omkar. People don't believe in God the way they do. Society is telling you that you are in control of your own destiny. So the younger generations are saying, I don't need to pray to God. I'm in control of my destiny.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. You got to have God in your life.
Yeah.
And still make sound decisions.
And I made that point on my program recently. Well, it was a while back. That money is the new God. Because, people used to pray to God for health and strength and wealth and good children. And, people think money could buy health, buy property, strength, even up to good children. That you could, if you throw enough money at it, you could get good children. Like all these things, like people think money does everything now.
So you're buying your way.
Money is the new God.
But everybody says that money is the root of evil.
Yeah.
Because when you get money, lots of money, you look at people different. And you're looking down on people. You want to be over people. You want to be in control of people. I mean, look, I hate to say it, but right here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's almost getting to the point to where we can't do nothing without having to pay a bribe.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
This has to stop. They do not know what they're doing to themselves. It may not be during this lifetime, but when you leave this earth, you have to answer, Omkar. And how are they going to answer all this? And what benefit is it going to do to them when they go up and they have to answer for it? What was the benefit of them doing it in the first place? Was it a temporary fix within this life?
They have a question that came up in my mind while you was explaining the lower realms and how it works, and then we got to the earth, well, this plane, which is the whole design doesn't sound based on humans in the sense that it sounds like it's based on his soul. So when God is
Nothing in the universe, Omkar, is based on humans.
Yeah, right. So that's the point. So when we think of ourselves as praying,
it's all spiritual.
Yeah.
Spiritual beings.
So when we think of ourselves, okay, I'm praying for wealth or strength or health or whatever, you're not really praying for your body in that sense, because the whole design of heaven and hell and earth and karma and the whole system had to be from creation. Like God had to create that system.
Correct.
So then now the system isn't based on the human body. It isn't based on you getting a job or a car or a house or a good wife or husband or whatever. It's based on the soul from being created, like the birth of the soul, till the end of the soul, whenever that is, like that lifetime of the soul.
All right. Do not mix the two. This body has nothing to do with your soul.
Okay. So
no.
The soul doesn't dwell in the body?
This is a vehicle.
Right.
For your soul to reside in.
Right.
Within itself.
Right.
Now, through your life as you're growing up, the goal is supposed to be, some people say the soul is, some people call it the super consciousness. Okay. You're the link with God.
Right.
Right? The goal of everyone during this lifetime should be to actually connect with your soul. That is the direct link to God.
Just now, wait, I have a paradoxical question here. So, first part, am I the soul or the body? I'm the soul, not the body, in essence.
No. Until people realize you are the current personality within this vehicle.
Right.
Your soul is residing within you.
Right.
Your soul doesn't get mad. It doesn't get angry. It doesn't cuss. It doesn't drink alcohol. It doesn't smoke. It doesn't think through the physical mind.
Right.
It is pure.
Right.
It is a particle of God.
Right.
So now, your soul, when I was talking about last week, listen to your intuition. That inner feeling, when you get that warning, don't go in this place. That is your soul trying to warn you. But then your physical mind now tries to justify why you should still go in. There's always a constant battle between the physical mind and your soul. So, through training, knowledge, you find the pathways to actually connect with your soul. Now, you are starting to walk that path that everybody's been talking about. You have to start looking at things a little differently. Mm-hmm. When you're connecting with your soul, some of the things that you used to like to do before you connected with your soul, you find it's not even interesting anymore. Why? It could have been drinking in the bar with your buddies, chasing women, whatever. That does not appeal to you no more. Why? You are merging with the divine. Friends you used to have, you're not going to have them no more. They're going to think, he's not fun no more. Yeah. He's not doing what we're doing. So you'll see that they start going. And then you'll start seeing you be more attracted to positive people. You don't want to talk gossip. You don't want to talk bacchanal. You want to talk what is constructive, what is productive. More about spirituality, learning more. you know, you're going to be drawn to that. And I'm seeing it every day. There are people out here that is yearning to get out of just this human mode and start getting into the spiritual mode. Yeah. So when people say, and I said it last week, do this and you will accumulate all the desires that you want. Mm-hmm. Well, you're going back into the human mode. When you're in spirituality, we're supposed to get rid of our desires. We're supposed to actually control our desires. Mm-hmm. Because desires is what's going to lead you on the wrong path. But I'm not seeing it being done. And this is why we're doing these programs. So do not make the mistake of saying, you are your soul. You can, after years training, and you can start merging with your soul. Now,
that's not it.
Where you're getting mixed up is people talk about when the soul leaves the body.
Right.
And they make it sound like it's you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's the question, yeah. So then I'm going to hell. Like the statement now will say, I'm going to hell because the soul is going to hell. So
is the soul going to hell? Or is the personality that was here going with the soul going to hell?
Well, I don't
and
know.
You pay. This is where I would like to go into deeper philosophy in another program, because people are under this misconception. Like let me give you an example.
So that's not. The soul is also a vessel for my personality, like the divine.
Your personality develops while you're within this body.
Right.
Your education, your culture, everything shapes your personality. Experiences that you have during this lifetime. This is knowledge on the personality side, human side, that you gain. That has nothing to do with your soul.
Right.
Who do you think judges you? Who actually dictates what you've done and what you good or bad? It's your soul. It's like a separate entity within you, but the goal, like I said, within this lifetime is to merge with it. You know, when people say you can get moksha.
Yeah.
Okay. You just can't do some prayers and that and get that. This takes years of sacrifice to merge and connect with the soul. So let me give you an example. When human conception happens, and the cells split, and a fetus starts to form. The soul's not in that yet, but the body's there. Now, some scholars say the first heartbeat of the baby is when the soul enters the body. Okay? So this is where I really want to get deep into this, because it can happen that also a demonic soul can enter your body during that transition. A lot of people don't know that.
I heard about even if you do astral travel, that a demon can enter your body while you left.
Yes, we've had some cases of that. And this is where I always talk about if you learn to astral travel, you got to have a guru.
Yeah.
Because he's going to teach you certain things that you have to know before you do it.
Yeah.
Number 2, you will be assigned a deity or an angel to escort you when you astral travel. If you don't, you're wide open. The second thing, you have to totally ground yourself before you astral travel. Most people don't even know how to ground yourself. Yeah. You have to ground before you go and when you return.
Otherwise, you keep slipping out, I think.
No, that means you're still accumulating what you've experienced out there and you're bringing it back with you.
Okay.
The next thing, you have to learn how to channel where you're going, how you're doing it, and filter as you're channeling.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, there's so many things.
I'll check the time to know if to ask more questions about that.
There's so many things that has to be trained. Knowledge has to be given. Because there are sins that accumulate with astral traveling. So let me give you an example. Do you know how many people that are astral traveling that is actually going in watching women have sex? In the showers, watching them bathe? You're not supposed to. You are infringing on that person's space. So that's a sin. There's so many. There are astral traveling cases where they're having sex with women. But the women think it's a demonic being.
Right.
But it's not. So that's when we have to set the trap and catch them. And then we ground them. Now they'll never astral travel again.
Okay.
So when people come in for an assessment saying there's a demonic being, something's happening, or I feel a presence, or I'm dreaming this, or I'm feeling this, or sometimes they'll lay in bed and say, the bed starts to sink because somebody's sitting beside me. Okay? Now, if you have the knowledge, and when you're doing the assessment with someone, you can identify. You know how to distinguish between what is the scenario and the situation they're going through. But if you don't, you're spinning top of mud. And then people's never going to get their help.
Yeah.
So this is why...
This is stuff you learn through experience, like case by case, or you actually you come across it in manuals or something, like people who came before you who did exorcisms and who covered this topic. Like
I was taught about the theory and the subject.
Right.
And when the cases started coming in, and they told me how to rectify it.
Right.
But when the cases come in, you could have the theory, you could have the knowledge, you'll know how to fix it. But turning that into practical takes experience.
Yeah.
And you learn from every case that you do. Because let me tell you something. All these people out here that think they can take out demons and solve demonic cases by a book on a shelf, they're a fool. Why? Demonic beings, class it or just picture a virus. Now, when they started with the COVID, they had one strain. And then within a month, they had 2 strains. So they did a vaccine to do those 2 strains. But then they start to mutate. And they start to change themselves, the strains. Now they have to go back to the drawing board and come out with another vaccine, which could be the booster, right? To try to keep up with how the virus is changing itself to survive. Demonic beings do the same thing.
Okay.
They're constantly changing their energies. They're changing the way they approach people, how they do things. And they're getting to where it's getting harder and harder. But as they're changing, we're changing. And we're keeping up with it. But the other people that don't want to learn, man, they're 10 miles behind. How are they going to deal with it? And then they're looked out bad because they're not giving results to the people. It's not that they're bad. They're dealing with the knowledge that they have. And all I'm saying, they should come and learn more Not that I'm the best. And like I said, you could have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't have experience, it's going nowhere. And this is in everything that you do in spirituality. You know, let me give you an example. Like if you learn how to do prayers, a puja for the Hindus, right? And you do it, and think that's the only way it has to be done. But you're not feeling the energy on the Bedi. And if you're a Hindu, once the mantras are being invoked, that diya, the flame is like this, normally, about 3 inches. That diya should shoot up 8 inches. If it don't shoot up 8 inches, there's no energy on the Bedi. Okay. And this is what I teach. This is what I have people look for, right? And then when they're shown the puja, they say the diyas are hotter than the howling. They're sweating doing their puja. So this is where I'm saying, have the knowledge you have, but just come and learn the other little techniques that will modify what you're doing. And they will actually come on the Bedi. There's many protocols that has to happen. But, so then you have to ask Omkar, certain angels fight demonic beings, correct? Right. Certain deities are known to fight demonic beings, correct?
Right.
So then why are a lot of people taught, don't pray to them? You only pray to these. Well, when you do, your seesaw is like this. When your seesaw is like this, you're vulnerable. But if you...
Let me just put some context there, right? So like, well, I'm from a Hindu background, so I know about Hinduism, right? Because I think the Christians, Saint Michael is the one that fights demons?
Yeah, there's many.
Right.
But Saint Michael is the most prominent one.
So in the Hindus, well, famously, Hanuman and Kali fight demons. Fought.
What about Kalbhairav? What about Sanganidi Baba?
Well, I don't know that.
What about Munish Prem Baba?
I don't know that.
See, these are Shaktis.
Right.
Right? And I can name you off 50, 60 more of them.
Right.
That are on the earthly plane. Right? That are here to benefit us.
Right.
But then it's not being taught. Why? A person should balance your prayers.
Right.
Right.
So just to clarify, because I don't want to digress too much on the question, is that...
No, but we're still talking about fighting demonics.
Yeah, but like, praying to Hanuman alone is not enough if you want to say protect yourself from demonic entities.
I'm not saying Lord Hanuman is not strong. He's one of the strongest.
No, in terms of the puja, like physical, the entity known as Hanuman, well, he could handle it himself.
It depends which entity you are going against.
Right.
So then there's other channels you have to use. And you can combine Lord Hanuman with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and then you mentioned that if you're doing the prayers on the Bedi, but the energy don't come, then you don't...
Then there's nothing there.
While doing the puja to Hanuman or whoever.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
You will feel the presence coming down on the Bedi.
Right. So
we
if the
do
presence
this.
Not there's nothing happening, basically.
Correct.
Okay.
You know, now, I'm not condemning how people do their pujas.
No, they have
I'm just saying there are ways to enhance your pujas,
right.
Even your regular pujas, right? And then the females are generally known to do a lot of the fighting also,
right?
Right? So the knowledge behind this whole thing, all of it isn't given out. So what are we doing to the people, Omkar? That knowledge needs to come out. Because if you sit there and you start looking even at Mother Lakshmi, she's got forms that also fights demons. You got Durga. I'm talking the normal ones they hear about.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got the different forms of Lord Shiva. Mm-hmm. They don't really talk about them. Why? You know, you've got all the forms of Kalbhairav. You've got all the forms of Kali. And then you'll start finding out how each female started to come and how they were developed from the other forms. They're all connected to one. But it's not really being expressed. And this knowledge needs to come out. So I know people keep hearing that's going to be a program. I said 2 programs ago, we got enough information to go 4 years minimum of just giving out information. And I know the people will want to hear it because it will only benefit them. Knowledge makes you independent, not dependent. People want you to be dependent. I want people to be independent. I want everybody out here who have the knowledge to be able to connect with God direct. Yeah. You don't need a human to do that. You just need to learn it, and now you're connecting whenever you want, straight to God. And then people start seeing Ganesh, if you're Hindu. They will come to you. They will give you messages. They will touch you. You feel it, right? When you bow to their feet, you feel it. But you don't tell every Tom, Dick, and Harry your message. That message is for you. Yeah. And you got to keep that confidential. It's only to benefit you. So, as we talked about last week, the demonic beings. A lot of people say, oh, they pray to Satan or some devil, right? That's supposed to be in charge of the negative. But if you're looking through the ancient scriptures, even Egyptian, Hindu, Sumerian, the demons pray to the same God. Mm-hmm. And they're better at it than we are. This is what people don't understand. Yeah. So how did all these demons back then get all the boons, the blessings from God, and the powers they achieved? They went through severe penance and sacrifice to get that. So why has man thought, nah, they can't pray to the same God? They do.
No, I'm smiling because I'm thinking about the Ramayana, because that's what everybody knows. And Ravan team had more power players than Ram team. Ram had Hanuman, Lakshmana, and Ram.
Correct.
That's 3. But Ravan team had...
But again, how did Ravan get that power? Yeah. Severe penance. And his devotion. He would not miss his prayers. So that's how Lord Ganesh fooled him. And he posed as a little boy on the beach. Yeah, yeah. And Ravan knew it was time to do his devotion, but he was holding the lingam. But the lingam couldn't touch the ground. So Ganesh was there. He asked him, please hold it. Do not let it on the ground. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is they all pray to the same one. And they do get results. Now, there's always a loophole. So, if God gives a demonic being a certain amount of power, there's always a loophole. There's always a loophole. If they over-exceed themselves or they cross that line that they shouldn't cross, there's always a way to conquer it. But the thing is, at the time, demons don't think of that. That's why some of the boons that they've ever asked were very complex. Because they think the way they word it, the way they're asking, they can't be killed.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, there's a loophole.
Yeah.
And they got killed. And the same thing is what we're doing out here. When people go to the dark side and they think they're invincible, and they can do this and keep doing it to people, and keep causing havoc and doing wrong, there's a loophole. And it's going to come back and going to bite you. And this is why I want people to understand. Walk the right path. But before we end, should we show this video?
Yeah, well, we're coming close then. But I have one question I want to ask you. But, well, probably the answer is short, probably is long. Well, it depends on you. When Obia people do rituals, well, do what they do, right? But they have pundits who say, oh, you know, you could either cut it or you could send it back. Or, like this person, the pundit will do a reading or whatever and say, okay, this person did this to you, you know, you could send back to them. These kind of things. So, are pundits involved in, is the ritual that they're doing the same, but it's just one is a Obia person, one is a pundit, or is different rituals involved? Well, what I'm not trying to say it direct, but are some pundits involved in Obia?
There's a lot.
Yeah?
Not a tremendous amount. There's good pundits out here.
Yeah.
Okay, but some are playing both sides.
Yeah.
They make more money that way. But what I'm trying to say, and there's bad preachers.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Every religion,
preachers, yes.
every religion, there's good and bad.
Right.
Okay? But I'm seeing more weighing on the bad side.
Because you told me a few pundits have bucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let me answer your question. Any spiritual leader
Right.
that says, we'll cut it and send it back,
Yeah.
that's not spiritual.
Right.
Anytime that you are trying to solve it, but you're sending it back on the people,
Right.
that's not a righteous move. So anybody that comes here and asks me to help them, and they'll say, hey, boy, let's send that back. I'll say,
Send you back.
walk out the door. Because I will not cause harm to people. My job is to end it permanently. Let God deal with them. Humans cannot make that decision, Omkar. Number two, I only know 2 pundits in this island that would have the knowledge to even cut it right away. It depends on what they're doing.
Right.
Okay? So if they're telling them that and they don't have buku years of experience, walk away. Because that means they don't really know what they're talking about. Okay. People have to be cautious of who they're talking with and dealing with. I'm not saying they're a bad pundit. They may know how to do prayers good. They may know how to do certain things good. But it's just not 2 things you could do. You have to learn every avenue as a spiritual leader. Because people's going to come to you with not just normal problems. They're going to come some to you, and when you go out and verify it, the first time I take you out, the first thing you're going to think is, whoa, this is like watching a sci-fi movie. The human mind cannot conceive it until you can actually witness it.
Yeah.
So people have to be very cautious in what they do. Now, the video that we're going to play now, what I'm showing is how do you identify or even make it raise in a person's stomach, not doing an exorcism.
Okay.
And there are certain, now, you can't do it in English. You can't do it in many languages. You have to use the deity language. I said it during the satsang. I've said it in many things. So now we're going to
But
play
the
it.
language is, in the video is not the deity language.
That's the deity language,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Then I translated it.
Right.
The deity language, I don't care what spirit is inside you. Once you speak that, it gets super scared.
Yeah.
It starts to run for its own survival.
Right.
And what they're going to witness here is when I did that, with my two fingers and saying that, what happens to the individual inside. And all the people, when you witness this, at this time, if you want to take your kids out for something to get something to drink in the fridge or something, it's only 4 minutes or 3 minutes long.
It's nothing too graphic.
Too graphic, but it's something maybe a young child don't need to see.
Yeah.
Okay? And then we're going to see you next week, and it's been a pleasure being with you. So we're going to play this right at the end, and then you let us know with your comments what you think. Is evil real, or is it not? Have a good night. You got a big one.
Wow.
There we go. Got him. See it?
Yes. You seen it, Dad?
I want you to listen to me, all right? To solaka matasina patastu manaikanda patisanandi de bahan. Prasta kasutina mahan tutehan. Prasito basanti na mahan de mahan. Prosta kinaina. Prosta kasantinga. Tumpakasanaya. Tandari zara mahan tu solamahan. Presta homakania na mahan. There you go.
Go ahead and move in.
I told it it's got 14 days.
It's still moving. I
to leave
captured
on
it.
its own.
Watch it. Watch it. It's shaking.
I just told it. I'm speaking his language. Okay? Now I'm going to say it in English. It has 14 days to leave on its own. Because if it doesn't leave, I will rip it into 1,000,000 pieces. You understand? Do you understand? Hello? Now you will not cause this man any more pain. You will leave on your own. If you don't leave, which I know you can't, I'm coming. So at this time, you will calm down. Calm down. Or I'm coming. God. Has any word in human history been more influential? Mankind has created religion after religion, written book after book, all in an effort to satisfy our quest for knowing God.